Hi and welcome to ULM X. This is the Universal Language Media Exchange, Society and Culture, from Ulm in Baden-Württemberg. Today we're talking about 10 of the most difficult, 10 of the hardest things about living in Germany. And make sure that if you like it, hit the like button. If you don't like it, hit the dislike button. Your feedback is really important to us. And subscribe, because ULM X is really ramping up production and there'll be a lot of videos that you won't want to miss. This is the ULM X Society and Culture series. Today we're talking about the 10 hardest things about living in Germany, which apparently is going to start with making videos with so many bells going off all the time. The bells are always going off here. I don't know what this is, probably like the 8:30, 8:45 bells. I don't know, 8:30 there were bells, 8:45 now there are also bells. I don't know, I'll just wait till they're over. Alright, I think the bells have relaxed now, so let's start with number 1. Well, I guess actually now we're already on number 2. Fashion. In America, we are considered a fashionless country, and Germany and Europe at large would be considered much higher fashion from our perspective. But inside of Europe, there's a definite distinction between different countries, where some countries are really more on point with their fashion, and Germany is really a working country, practical people. And while there's a higher level of attention to detail than in the United States, generally it's not a fashion-y country. Like, if you take a picture or a video of the main walking centers, which probably contribute a lot to the pressure to have good fashion. It's not like you just hop out of your car in the parking lot, run into the grocery store. You're out in the open, people are always walking by each other, and that's kind of a chance for you to exchange fashion ideas, or people steal each other's ideas, whatever. And if you take a picture or video of a walking area in the winter, you'll notice that pretty much everyone's jackets are like blue, brown, or black, with the occasional olive green. It's very like toned down color palette. Even in the summer, it's not like super fashiony. Like, I would say the clothes are generally tighter for both men and women, but aside from this fit factor, like extreme like accessories and flair is pretty much not there. Yeah. I really think that I have very non-colorful wardrobe, and I think it fits in really well with the German culture. So what makes it hard is if other people around you, just like in the United States, aren't focused on fashion, and if you're trying to have good style, you kind of lose inspiration and also social reinforcement to really up your game in the style department. The next hardest thing would have to be Dayold bread rolls. They are extremely hard. Sometimes, if you put a little bit of water on them and put them back in the oven, you can soften them up again, but you're better off with Dayold pretzels because they're a lot softer. Not a lot you can do about that. Without dough conditioners, preservatives, conservatives, and generally a lot of chemicals, bread just gets hard pretty fast. But you can always put it in soup. Some people might consider this a first world problem, but I think this is a really difficult thing. You want to integrate. You want to attract people into your life. You don't want to be isolated or anything, but when you integrate, I think you attract somewhat of the wrong type of person into your circle. And just an example on the online platform of YouTube, if you look at the YouTubers who speak English in their videos about German culture or whatever it is, German norms or their experiences living abroad, they have a much more tolerant comment section. Whereas if you speak German in your YouTube videos, those people who want to watch Americans speaking German integrating as much as possible into the German culture are not really the kind of people who you probably want to be associating with, because they're really like, you know, flag flying proud people, which is fine, but that's more of an American thing to be a flag flyer. Alright, now another literal one. just like the hard bread rolls. The water is really, really hard here in Germany, which means it tastes really good to drink. Hard water is a result of minerals in the water, and because the water is coming from the ground, there are a lot of minerals that get into the water, salt mainly, and that actually makes it taste really good. That makes the water really tasty. So you can drink the water right out of the tap, and it's going to be good water. And a benefit of drinking the water out of the tap in Germany as compared to in the United States is there isn't chlorine in the water. Although it's really not too much of a problem. Chlorine's really gone after about 30 seconds after you take it out of the tap. As soon as you give it half a minute, most of the chlorine has evaporated because it's a gas and it's no longer under pressure. But the water tastes good because of the salt, but the water is really, really hard to use to wash yourself, because what that salt in the water ends up doing is binding with the soap molecules. And the way that soap works is it basically encapsulates oils. So it kind of puts a molecule around an oil, like molecules in a circle around every oil molecule. So you need a lot of soap molecules to get away the oil, and that's how it cleans you. But the thing is, these soap molecules bind with the salts in the water, and that means if you have soft water, it's hard to get the soap off your body because you don't have enough minerals to attract the soap away. But when you have hard water, it's really hard to get the soap to actually clean you because it's just sticking to the water and it's not actually getting any of this stuff from your skin off. And I really don't like the minerals in the water for washing. It's really difficult, I feel. And Germans really want to take short showers, and honestly, I can't get it done that fast. I need a lot more lathering. Too much information, probably. But another practical thing is just when you're, that sunrise is bright. But it also comes into play even when you're just talking about washing your laundry or your dishes. You have to put in special salts. That's the weird thing about it. Salts are what makes water hard, but then you put salt into your dishwasher so that it somehow deactivates the hardness of the water. I have no idea how that works. Same with washing your clothes. You have to put in tons of fabric softener, and you'd think, I don't want this much fabric softener on my clothes. What is this? It's really just softening the water. So it's making it so your soap is really working well. The next really difficult thing about living in Germany is the driving test. If you're lucky enough to live in a state like Massachusetts and you have a Massachusetts driver's license, you don't have to do the written test, you don't have to do the practical test. But what you do have to do, you don't have to do really anything. Hand in your driver's license and they'll just give you a new one. But if you live in New Hampshire, the next state north, it's on a state-by-state basis. And the New Hampshire driver's license or the New Hampshire Department of Motor Vehicles hasn't made a deal with Germany, so you have to take both tests. It was a real pain. That was a real pain for me. But I did learn a lot because I got to review it 10 years after I had already done my driving tests and got my driver's license and stuff. So that's not something everyone gets to do. But that practical test, I swear 70% of people fail it on the first time or something. It's insane. They actually allow you to take it up to 7 times. They expect you to fail. Maybe that's a good thing. Probably is. Maybe driving in Germany is actually more difficult. But they definitely want to increase the challenge of getting your driver's license, and they want to, hopefully, I think they're trying to limit the number of people on the road. They feel like they already have too many drivers, so maybe there are too many drivers here in Germany, I don't know. But wow. Difficult driving test. This is another hard one, literally hard. Hanging things up on the walls in Germany can be really, really hard because most of the walls are made out of some hard material, not drywall, not wood. You could have concrete walls, or you could have, it's kind of like a brick material that they use for the internal walls, but it's going to be really hard no matter what. And if you want to drill into it, you can't just use a normal wood drill, a spinning drill. You need to use a hammer drill, and that hammer drill will do the job. But if you actually don't, like I didn't, if you don't know the distinction between a drill that is for concrete, which actually hammers at the same time and has a special tip for that hammering, you try and do it with some random spinning drill, you'll just come up against a brick wall, literally. once you're prepared for this, it's really not that difficult, but the walls are still really, really hard. No way around that. And hopefully you don't hit any piece of steel in the wall, otherwise you're not going through that at all. Oh yeah, there we go. Another thing that, oh man, 18 times plus 4 was 22 times. 22 bell rings, 9 o'clock. It rings 4 times at the beginning. It says 1, 2, 3, 4. It means you're on the hour. And then it rings 9 times to tell you it's 9. And then it'll do it again at somewhat of a different tone because you probably might not have been paying attention. So then it kind of changes the tone and now it sings a song. That was a pretty nice song. They just played one 15 minutes ago and I think the rule is you can only play it for a quarter of an hour, which is like 3 minutes, 25 seconds or something. I'm not really sure how that all works. I'm not the biggest expert on the, definitely not the biggest expert on the bell tower. All right, number 8. This is a bit more serious, I think. Not really serious, but this is tricky. So you spend a lot of time learning German when you move to Germany, and maybe you learn a little bit of the dialect in your area, but you would probably only learn that on a passive basis. Some people incorporate more dialect things into their version of high standard German, but generally you learn standard German. The communication with people who speak really strong dialects, you don't train that. You don't train that at all when you're learning, and it's kind of discouraging. As soon as you get, a little bit more fast, once you get a little bit more control and confidence, and you start putting yourself in more realistic situations, as soon as you come into contact with someone who just goes deep into the ancient dialect of wherever you are, it's really hard to understand them. And sometimes you don't understand anything. I have a colleague who said that, he's German, and it didn't matter if he was where he was from, or if he was like in the north or in the south. It was like, if you were talking to someone from a farm, like out in the middle of the countryside, he couldn't understand anything. He couldn't understand anything even if it was his own dialect. Just like, you can go really, really far with your dialect, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just hard to understand, like, if you're not in that world. So, I don't know. It's a hard thing to kind of come to terms with the fact that you're probably not going to learn that all. You're almost definitely not. There are definitions of the competence for A1, B1, C1, C2. C2 has one of the stipulations, or one of the conditions to reach C2 is that you can actually really understand, and it says this, as much as a well-educated person, you can understand people with really, really strong dialects, almost unintelligible dialects for people who are outside of that world. That's tricky. But it says as much as a well-educated person, because you have to really be in and dive into that world to really, really get a feel for it, because it's just a totally different dance. It's a different move. It's like everything is just kind of styled and slanted in that one direction and in that one geographical area. There's not a lot you can really do to train it except for diving into it, and diving into one doesn't really help you too much diving into another one. But maybe a little bit discouraging, a little bit difficult. It's actually difficult to communicate, but then it's also kind of saddening to know, like, if you've only been training for standard German, that's what you're ready to do. That's all that you're ready to do, really. Number 9 is being vegan at work. And I want to make this distinction really clear, because I think being vegan outside of work is really easy. In Germany, going to the bakery, you can get all kinds of stuff vegan. Like, it's way easier than in the United States. If you go to, say, Dunkin' Donuts, if you want to even call that a bakery in the United States, what are you going to get that's vegan? Are any of the donuts, are any of the muffins vegan? Probably not. Like, maybe. Croissants? No. But if you go to a German bakery, you can get plain bread rolls, which is just bread. And that might seem like useless, but it actually is good to be able to do. Like, it makes a big difference. For me, that's like having fast food. Like, I couldn't go to McDonald's and order just bread if I was really hungry. Technically, maybe you can, but who does that? But if you go into a bakery and you're like, yeah, I'll have 5 bread rolls. It's like, oh yeah, normal person buying 5 bread rolls. Everyone does that. Or 6 pretzels. It's like, you don't know, I'm going to probably just eat that today throughout the course of my work day, but people buy 6 pretzels. That's just a normal thing. You just go into McDonald's and ask for like a bread. Like, forget it. It's weird. It'll be weird when you do it at that location, this location, your location, when you're home and away. It doesn't matter. It would be a weird thing to do. Whereas there's a standard system here where you can go to a bakery in anywhere, and there's something. It gets trickier, though, if you're trying to get like a sandwich. Some places, like bigger chains from what I can see, for example, Yolma's, you can find something called like a salad bread roll. And they put a little bit of like dressing, a little bit of carrots or whatever, and some salad or lettuce, and yeah, that's a salad. That's a funny thing. I always call it salad now, but it's really technically lettuce. But the word for lettuce is salad in German. Anyway, if you're at an event of some kind where there's catering, so my pretzel solution, it's great. It's just bread. And it's pretty soft and chewy and it's good. But what they do is, to make it more fancy, they'll cut the pretzel open, like half of the bottom. They'll cut the bottom in half lengthwise and put butter on it. And it's a butter pretzel. And now you're screwed. Now you got nothing. Everyone's just eating the butter pretzels. The butter pretzels are totally normal. The butter pretzels are what everyone expects. You get coffee, tea, and butter pretzels. It's just like, yeah, no big deal. It's just like the standard background noise kind of everyday thing. And like for vegans, it's like, couldn't you have just left maybe some of them without butter? With all catering, you're kind of walking into a trap there as a vegan. You just don't go hungry. But if you get hungry, usually all you get is salad. But again, another thing that you can kind of rely on is there'll probably be bread with the salad, so you're kind of good. And now the last thing on my list, which transitions right in from the bread and the salad and the backup plan, is if you're gluten-free and you live in Germany, it's hard for you. It's really hard, I think, because the bakeries are the standard quick food, and the bakeries should be the people who really have the best gluten-free stuff, you'd think. But I'll just say this very bluntly, I don't think they care very much about gluten-free customers. Maybe like the random odd bakery is going to have it, but that's not like on the standard repertoire, on the standard menu that a bakery would have. You go into any bakery, there's going to be pretzel dough baked goods. There will be a variety of them, like round ones, the normal pretzel shape, the long kind of like sticks, and then normal bread rolls with no butter in the dough. Like, you could get something vegan, but like along with that, and they usually have other standard things like this weird stuff called Leberkäse, which is like the most disgusting meat you could imagine. It's just like big chunks of bologna like this thick. That's everywhere, but a gluten-free option is not there. And just like there's no gluten-free option, there's never like a sandwich, almost never a sandwich for vegans. But I would say that if you're a vegan and gluten-free, you'd be really not enjoying the options at your disposal at quick, easy to access points of food, restaurants, and bakeries more above all else, because the bakeries are a real staple, like something you can really rely on. There's always going to be a bakery around the corner, and if you're not vegan and not gluten-free, there is always something there that could satisfy your needs at that moment. And if you're willing to adapt a little bit, if you're vegan, you can always find something. But if you're gluten-free, I would have to say, das kannst du vergessen. You can just forget about it. Sorry. I mean, I think I've heard that some smaller bakeries have begun catering to like gluten-free people in their area, but it hasn't reached scale yet, and it hasn't reached like it hasn't gone viral, so to say. We hope you like this video. Hit the subscribe button if you do. Hit the like button if you do. Hit the subscribe button to make sure that you don't miss future videos, because there are a lot of videos coming out from ULM X. We have tons of ideas, tons of topics and concepts that we will be really pumping out in the next few months. ULM X is a language learning app and YouTube channel specifically focused on improving your ability to speak freestyle. Our app is for German native speakers who want to learn English, or not really learn English. You probably already know a lot of English. It's more for practicing speaking than anything else. You'll probably already understand the translations, but what you haven't had yet is the practice that this app can provide to really drill in your speaking. Hit the subscribe button and like it if you like it. You're not going to want to miss future videos. ULM X is really ramping up production. Until next time. Ta-ta for now.